that's the live control panel. Put that up there. Okay. I think we're live. It's hard to tell. So normally I do Twitch streaming by KTC Flute, but I thought I'd try out some actual OBS integrated live streaming with this Kinabalu Flute Center account. So we'll see if that makes people happy or not. So what this is often going to feature is just like little playthroughs of me practicing, or playthroughs of actual pieces. I give commentary. I give maybe even some teaching aspects and whatnot. So feel free to make yourselves known in the chat. And this is going to be one of those things, these projects that I hope will just evolve over time. So here's hoping for that. I'm going to raise this up a little bit. Actually, no, that seems to be just fine. Okay, generally what I am using, if you guys are curious about the equipment, I use a Mac Mini M1 primarily for streaming now. I do have a PC, and that's primarily for other things, or streaming other like PC-centric things like either games or PC music apps. And I frequently also, via Rodecaster Duo, integrate all the audio. I'm using a Rode NT1 microphone now, and it's currently set for Podcast Studio. I'll raise it up just a little bit. Can't hear myself right now because I don't have the headphones set. And iPads, which this Rodecaster Duo really integrates quite well with it. And frequently I do a lot of screen sharing along with it as well. Of course, it does take quite a bit of setup here. So let me grab this here. And I think today what I'm going to be primarily doing is I want to practice this sonata that I've started by trying to learn in earnest, and that's Mel Bonis's Flute Sonata. Now, Mel Bonis is I think it's kind of a pseudonym, and we'll look it up a little bit more. But basically, it's a rather underrepresented female flute composer. By the way, this is a dock for works with Nintendo Switch primarily, but it also works great for iPads. So I'm just gonna tuck this behind here, and put this here. Now, of course, I need power. So I need to grab some cables for power and for sound integration. 3 to be exact. So this is one. I guess I can grab this one. I can probably use this one. I'll see. Okay. All right. So let's try this. What is this here? Does this allow me to share things? Oh, it does allow me to share. Okay. URL copy to the clipboard. So let's try sharing to the good folks at Facebook. That's always a good place to start sharing. And we'll see what we can do about getting some nice shares here. So, testing out YouTube live stream from the Kinabalu Flute Center account. Right. And just put the link here. Let's see what that does. All right. Maybe I'll copy paste that. So I'll put that there and also put it in the because I tried putting it out in the actual Kinabalu Flute Center webpage on Facebook. Now I don't use Facebook all that much anymore. I just kind of scroll through a little bit. There's so much stuff going on in it that your stuff gets lost. But it's still good for business contacts and other professional things. Okay, so okay, it goes what's on your mind. I'll just copy paste, and I will post. All right, and let's see what else we can do here. Okay. Take that thing off. If those of you curious what's that on my head, I'll explain probably a little bit later. Move this closer here. Okay, so currently what I'm working on right now is I am just connecting my iPad, and I'll be using this thing as the primary means of primary means of screen sharing, even though I can also screen share from the various screens I have here. Okay, so that should, okay, so that powers the little dock, and then after that I will have to work on powering the actually I think this is probably not, this one's actually not too appropriate because it's a little bit too, it's too long. So take a little bit of a while, folks, to get this all set up. Grab that. I do have to say it is nice for everything to go back to being one single standard. Who knows if it's the greatest or the worst standard, but it is nice to have. Try plugging this one in here. Pardon me, I'm gonna be moving this to the side just so I can get access. Okay, and then one last cable, which is to connect to here, and that's not going to fit either. So I'm going to need to get another long USB-C cable to use. This one might work. I'm always in the market for good USB-C cables. All right. Actually, maybe over here. No. Okay, so this is what is going to actually hook up to the computer. So, which means I'm going to have to wrap everything around here. Plug into there. There we go. Nice, satisfying USB-C snap. Okay, so, all right. Let's see what we can do here. First, let me turn off all the privacy here. Okay, testing. That would be a screen share if I had anything on this screen, which I don't. And thankfully, it does hide all the OBS things when you have it. And then we have a screen share here for my larger. This is good for manuscripts and all that. And the thing I'm actually more interested in right now is getting this to work. So let me just get the USB capture device. Let's use that. Follow. Just try getting that back on. Ta-da! All right. Yes, that is working. Okay, now most importantly, I'm going to work on just getting the sound here a bit. So, what's a good program to use here? Well, since we were talking about Mel Bonis, I'm going to go ahead and do that. Okay, so the program that I'm using right here is called My Pianist Pro. And I love this thing. It's basically what used to be. It uses probably the same technologies that make music, the smart music stuff, the Vivace. Most of which nowadays is probably like all open source, half of it. But in particular, this app, it has a very heavy flute presence. I believe the advisor might actually be a gentleman named Dr. Matthew Allison. And yeah, so we're going to work on this here. Okay, so this is the first movement. And okay, so what I plan to try to do is just like a playthrough, and then after that, I'll work on individual things. And we're going to probably see how long we can do that for the entire sonata. Now, of course, I'm going to need a flute. So, where are my flutes? Here we go. Those of you curious, as to what flute I use a my main flute is a 14 karat gold with silver mechanism Powell flute. And it's an American manufacturer. I've had this flute close to, oh, okay, wow, I didn't realize how long I had it. Maybe about 35 years. So it's an heirloom, so to speak, but still plays well. We do have some very, very fine repair people here called the Kinabalu. So those of you that are watching from internationally, let's get back to chatting here a little bit. I originally was from New York City. I was born and raised in New York City. But my parents are actually from where I live now, which is a small city in East Malaysia called the Kinabalu. And yeah, it was kind of a little bit of somewhat of a midlife crisis thing, but it worked out quite well. I'm very happy here. And one of my missions is to try to spread more of the use of the classical flute here in East Malaysia and beyond. So I studied under Julius Baker and in Carnegie Mellon University. And later on, I studied the latter half of Carnegie Mellon University with Thomas Robertello. And I did my master's under Thomas Robertello at Indiana University. Prior to that, I had also taken lessons with Lauren Maurer. So that's been my primary lineage here. So let's get back to trying out our setup here, because I'm used to having this on Twitch. Now, I just realized I could actually add a little branding here. So give me a second, because I should put something here. I'm sure it gives it like a little bit of a watermark. There is a way to add an image. And I'm going to browse for the Jiffy file. I heard it was GIF, not GIF. And it'll probably be Google Drive, my branding, logos. It's either streamer assets or logos. Yeah. Here we go. White spitting GIF. Whoa, GIF. All right. There it is. Cool. And maybe I'll put it here. Yeah, that seems like a nice little safe place to put it. Okay, yay. And while I'm at it, I might as well copy paste it to other scenes here. So main screen share here, and the dual up screen shape here. But although I'll probably have to put it more like here. Okay. And then we have this one here, and this one we'll put here. Okay, so now let's try this. So let's warm up a little bit. Yeah. You know what? I should do a quick intonation system. Now, I always like to use this strobe tuner, Strobosoft. Strobosoft. It's like a 10 US dollar, maybe it's a little bit more nowadays, but when I bought it, I think it was 10 US dollars, and it does exactly what a 300 US dollar device back in 1996 would do for me. So, ain't technology amazing? All right, let's just do a quick intonation. Can't read me? There we go. All right. Now, normally I would go a lot slower and whatnot, but there's no point in doing so. Ah. That's probably as high as one needs to get to on there. All right, let's go back to my piano. Okay, we're going to start from the top of the sonata. More importantly, I have to make a slight adjustment here. So I unplug it, plug it back in. It should ask me, right, so I want to make sure that it's using the iPad microphone, because I worry that if it uses the iPad secondary, it will probably just end up, how to say it? It will probably just end up like trying to listen to the accompaniment. So that's what these audio interfaces allow you to do. Just split up the audio just enough to get it going. All right. Let's try this. Okay. We'll put reverb on because it's more pleasant to listen to. Here we go. I'm going to do our reading of the first movement of Mel Bonis' sonata. Okay. All right. So that was the first. That was the first movement. I just want to change this to, instead of fade, let's make this into a move transition. I like move transitions better. Okay, so that was the first movement of Mel Bonis's Flute Sonata. I need to get some water here, but before that, let's create a very simple text thing, and I'm just going to call it "Be Right Back." And I'm going to copy paste that there. All right, the text will be right back. Color will be that. That's fine. We'll put an outline and a drop shadow just because it's fun to do. Okay. There we go. And we'll just center that right in the middle. Transform, center to screen. Ta-da. Okay, so I will be right back because I need to get some water there. And of course, my thing is not set for do not disturb. There we go. All right, I'll be right back. Okay, I am back. Okay. And that means I can hide that. Actually, there's a way to make this fade and not fade, huh? Let's see. Let's go to my properties. There we go. Show transition will be fade, and the hide transition for this particular thing will be also a fade. So now I can go fade in and out. Nice. Okay, and then I'm gonna copy paste that all here and here and more importantly here. Okay, so let's take a look at what we got here. We have the opening strains here. So usually what I like to do I like to outline the phrases. And so what I frequently do is, well, let's pick a nice green color. Make it lighter green, like so. And then, so this is our first little unit here. All right. And what I like about this My Pianist Pro is that you can do things like practice loops. You can even get them accelerating if you'd like. But let's set up a practice loop. And the way that's done is touching where you want to start and kind of where you want to end. All right. So I'm going to run this like first little section for myself to get there. My main goals for this first attempt at practicing and getting really drilling deep down in this first movement is it's not slurred in, right? It's not. So a little bit more separation on the G sharp for me here. I also, for myself, I would probably want to have a little bit more crispiness in the little grace notes that come here. And I'll have like some pointers for people, like, you know, how to play faster. That's always in everybody's mind. Okay, but we're going to basically loop this section a couple of times here. Let's go now. She shows some help. Just for practice, I'm going to break that last G. Now just breaking this one. Just to make sure our feeling of going onto downbeat is good. Last time. Okay, so for myself, even though I can read and I can understand what, you know, DIM stands for, which is obviously diminuendo and getting smaller, I've always been a fan more of like symbols rather than actual, like, you know, letters and whatnot. It just speaks to me better. So very often, to reinforce it, I put that one there. And I think it's kind of important to note that where that diminuendo is there also matches what happens here in this little tail end of the G sharp in measure 9. So I'm going to play it one more time, and I want to get myself a little bit better diminuendos, so we can. Now, of course, with this setup here, I think I have a compressor going, so the diminuendos may not even come out, but I'll try my best to show it. Okay, last round. Do this one more time, twice. Okay, add reverb. Oops. Oh, it didn't do a loop. Okay, I'll just start over from one up. And we'll continue on until measure 15. All right, so we know that the end bracket will probably be like this, measure 15 here. Okay, here we go, one more time from the top. Okay, so our next point of action. We know that this is going to be kind of like the beginning of and ending of all that there. And it's very important to listen to the 16th notes or semiquavers, as you meant, starting at measure 10. And 10 going into 11. Oh, let me check here. Ooh. Ooh. Can. All right. So just chatting with the wife there. Always maintain communication with the wife whenever possible. Secret to a happy marriage. Anyway, where was I? Right. So these runs here, I don't know. They're uncomfortable because they start on the break. Right. Now the break, for those of you who don't know what a break means, when people talk about a break on a woodwind instrument, it's when you have almost none of the fingers on and almost all the fingers on, right? Between those two states is what we would call the break, so to speak here. In this case, for flute, that would be a C sharp. You can actually play a C sharp with no fingers here whatsoever, right? It's kind of hard to see where I have the window, but yeah, no fingers whatsoever. And then D would almost have all the fingers, and even more so the D sharp. Right. So to get these sort of runs going here, right, and I'm just gonna circle them just gently. Is there no way to get the alpha on this? No, there's no way to do alpha. Anyway, I'll just put in orange temporarily, then I'll just erase it afterwards. But yeah, this, there, right? They're not terribly difficult once you get them in your fingers, right? It's just simply an almost completely chromatic run. Nevertheless, it's good to do what I call build-ups with this. So that's exactly what I'm going to do here. So the one in measure 9, 10, 11, you can start from the beginning and then just add a note each time. And for most people, that's how they would do it. But there are other ways of doing it as well. You can go forward, building up like that, and once you hit everything, you can start to subtract from the front end. So meaning you're starting on the next note over. And that gives you an additional routing on practice here. So I'll demonstrate, starting on the C sharp and building up. right? And now, instead of starting a C sharp, I'm going to go start on the next note over, the D sharp. Then the E, E sharp, F sharp, G sharp, G natural, then G sharp. And you can actually do that on the way on there. But it already feels comfortable now. Now, I would say that it's kind of important to lean on the E sharp for my case. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to erase this business here. And I am going to just kind of make sure I can use this, but I'm going to put a little tiny circle here, saying this is where I really want to lean into. It's a 3-note pickup into that E sharp. Now, the next one at measure 13, let's do another way we can do this, all right? We can start from the back. Now, we're still going to be playing forwards, and there is benefits to playing it completely backwards, but we're going to start playing forwards, but starting from the back note and adding as we go. So at measure 14, we have a C sharp, and then I'm going to start on the B sharp, then start on the B, and so on. So D sharp. It's actually harder this way. Double sharp. C sharp. Okay, now we're going to start subtracting from the back. Now we end on the B natural. A. Okay, so for this run, a couple of things are going to stand out for me here. I want to definitely emphasize that we're on a D sharp there. All right. I also want to emphasize, and I may need to zoom just to get a little bit more accuracy here, but I'm going to emphasize that this interval, okay, when I'm putting that there, I'm trying to tell myself that, no, this is not a semitone. This is not a B to C natural. Thanks to the key signature, this is a B to C sharp. And since the first one starts similarly, I should also do that as well, showing that this is not a chromatic run. Look out for that first interval there. And then the rest of it's kind of chromatic. All right. In fact, the chromaticism, C sharp, C double sharp, D sharp, E, F sharp. Basically, only this is there. Let me see if I can get a nice yellow. It's kind of hard to get a nice yellow here, but I think that's it. Well, maybe I can do this instead. Yeah, that's more like a highlighter color. Okay, here is the chromatic line. There's the chromatic line there. And on the first one, D sharp, E, E sharp, F sharp, G sharp. Okay, that's all chromatic there. All right, so that little smudge is going to try to tell me a little bit of something. Now, purists might be like, you should not mark your music. Come on, now I'm over it. Well, nobody's going to hear your markings. Right? And as long as you're not like writing the letter name of every single note and not reading the notation, I find it perfectly fine to mark music like this. In fact, I think it is the advantage of whoever wants to do it there. Now, how come... Oh, right, because I was pinched in. Okay, so the first one, and then, yeah, there we go. Okay, now, let's take a look at this nasty bad boy here. This one here is a little bit, is more than a little bit annoying. Okay, so we have that little section followed by this little section preceded by that, and then I guess we can tell you that's like a little tail there. So. Okay, so that seems to work well enough. Okay, let me just check my social minutes here. I thought I saw something blip up. Oh, okay, that should be not so bad there. Okay. Okay, so build forward. And let's just build in like from the little sections. All right, then. All right. So what I'm doing is I'm linking. I will take like one of the sections and then just a smidgen of the next section just to kind of do it. I sometimes call it sewing. So just simply like taking a needle and a thread and just kind of going up and down and connecting music there. The main purpose of it, of course, is that if you do make a mistake, which we're human, we inevitably do, you don't crash the entire thing. You just your hands just end up going into the next clean section that you're able to. And it's also just a great way to increase flow while you're going ahead and playing. All right, so with that, I think I have my newest loop for practicing. Okay, so I hit the center of this and make sure my practice loops are open. So if we start here and we end here, and you see that little thing that looks like an infinity sign, that's how we start the loop. All right, let me turn on the reverb so it sounds like I'm more like performance mode. Too many notes. All right. Now, I already feel like I need to really make sure that I got a clean G sharp. And I like there. Put a little circle here and make sure that I am doing a sharp. Oops. Let's try that again. Tic, tac, toe. Okay. Okay, so and then I pinch it in. And let's just try maybe 2 or 3 more loops of this. Cool. All right, that's enough of that there. Interesting. There are 2 ways of listening to the coordination of it. You've got the right hand that's going bup, 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 and yes, you're going to try to seamlessly integrate your run to follow just after the pianist's run. The other option is maybe just to not even deal with that and listen very carefully on the left hand. That's going boom, 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 and let that be the rhythmic anchor, and both would follow there. So that's something that one can work on with a pianist. Yeah. Okay, now let's take a look at this little section here, which is probably not that hard. All right, let's run this a little bit, and then we can talk about it. Okay. Not really much to talk about there, right? It's just a re-echoing and cutting of the initial idea that was put forth in the first 7 measures. Um, so the same thing, I probably try to keep a little bit more separation and cleanliness between the initial eighth note and then the grace note afterwards. And then this is another perfect example of how if I were writing things, I don't like poco crescendo or not. It's actually understood because sometimes you don't want a massive, long graphic line going across your page. But for myself, I would rather have this. Set it to that dark blue, and whoa. Okay, I have to be careful not to suddenly lose that thing. Let's see. So just a little poco crescendo there. But more importantly, I'm definitely going to want a little bit more. And I can make that look better because that looks terrible. Okay, so just gently. Yeah, just to remind myself that that's the crescendo that I need to do. Okay. Okay, so let's run from here to here twice, just so I get used to hearing the accompaniment running through. This sets the table for all the hemiolas. Okay, one more time, like that. Yeah, I'm like that sort of figure that you see, the eighth note followed by the grace notes. It actually almost can be debatable whether you want to just slur through it or tongue through it. But because what I'm hearing is that the background is so how to put it. The background is so romantically lush, and so a little bit of crispiness is good, just like having croutons in your salad. I always forget to hydrate. Okay, so yeah, so nothing more to be said except maybe just for myself, I will just circle gently, perhaps in light blue, this meno piano. Okay, put it on the softer side. So that's primarily designed so that our crescendo can go really nicely here. Okay, so what is our next section here? Okay, so we'll just take our green here to make our little sections. That's one bit, that's one practice bit. Okay, so now we have from here and then the next page over. Well, that's kind of silly to do, but yeah, like that. Can I change pages from here? I'm afraid to touch anything, so I'm going to put it on here. Okay, so remember how it went da 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 da. It probably does that again in 28. We'll hear it in a second. That will be our starting point. And our ending point, we'll make that here. Okay, I'm going to loop this a little bit. Now, this is a little bit annoying and tough, right? Because to make it clear your rhythm, and you're gonna have to depend on either what the pianist is doing or the pianist depends on what you're doing. And I usually opt for the pianist to kind of put the downbeats as strong as they can whenever they have it, and we both just let our flute and their right hand, work in harmony. So let's go ahead and try this snare. a couple of things. For myself, I like to emphasize this diminuendo. Right? That has to be there. As it rises up. But more importantly, how can we get this to practice more evenly? All right, this last little bit here on this page, and I would say subdivide. The whole thing is coming in subdividing with this, whatever you have it. It's subdividing in eighth notes in the piano. At least what I'm hearing. So we try to work on it being a little more equal here by playing eighth notes within each of those quarter notes and tied over and breaking the ties. So it will sound like. And that helps us really feel that short E sharp going into what I believe will it swipe over. No, it will not swipe over. Okay. Yeah, that E sharp to F there. So one more time. That probably slows down a little bit. Now let's try that within the practice loop. That might be kind of an interesting to do. Oops, make sure that's there. And then, all right. I'm gonna leave the reverb off here just so I can hear more separation as it goes. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna break the slurs and everything. It will clearly not be what is written on the page, but it's for a purpose. Okay. Let's see. Start here. One more time like that. 2 and 3. 3, 2, 3, 4, and 2 and 3. Now, let's put it back together and see what that does. Reverb, and I'll try not to be so flat in there at the end. Okay, I'm gonna play this one last time, but speaking of vibrato, I'm gonna put a note for myself to add vibrato, because even though I'm like instinctively flat toning it like an orchestra player to kind of go, okay, let me make sure I can flat tone it. So let's say the lower strings or whatnot is going to give me the rhythm and I'm not getting in the way. This is a solo piece, so it's a little bit different that way. So I'll put in gray. Gray is a nice one. I'm going to put in here, I'm going to put vibrato. Vibrato, please. So it's so it's gentle. All right. So vibrato, please. Okay. Oops. Okay. All right. Let's go on. Right. So we're gonna go and play that last one and then continue on. So out of marking mode. And here we go. 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 2, 3, 4. Going on. what's nice about this piece is that you know, the give and take between the piano is the more you play it, it comes more naturally. But more importantly, there's a lot of interludes where the piano takes over a little bit, and then the flutist, you know, answers or responds or just jumps in, and that's better than some other sonatas where you're just playing constantly. It gives a lot of rest for the instrumentalist there. Now, we're going to go and outline the fact that this is generally one section here. And let's put a little highlight on cantando. Ooh. That's not what I meant to do. That's not a highlighter. This is a highlighter. So there we go. All right. Yeah, cantando, singing. So I would say probably I should look to put a little bit more vibrato. And I would probably say that I want this to be... I would say I would want this to be more closer to mezzo forte. All right, so I'm going to write a little, or try to write, because I have terrible handwriting, especially with this little thing here. I'm trying to write MF. It might be easier if I just make it bigger. So MF. F. Okay. All right. For my taste. All right. For my taste, I would say make this like more mezzo forte. Now, this is a huge jump there. So in order to make the jump smooth, I should really emphasize the fact that that crescendo there is very important. I'll work the triplets a little bit. Now, interesting enough, there's no... yeah, there's no slurs over those triplets there. Now, I actually happen to have the Mel Bonis Sonata here. Let me see if I can find it. I'm going to give myself like a minute to try to find it. If I do have it. This is something else. That's not it. There's flexible music stuff that will work later. I know I bought it. I just don't know if I have it anymore. I can always just check it against the something else. I'll have to look for it. I'll have to look for it some other time. But let's just treat that as probably a thing, right? Because it does kind of make sense. It's been very flowy, and just like croutons in your salad, sometimes you need something a little crunchy. Okay. I can keep it either in piano, or I can actually kind of let it grow a little bit. So let's play it from here, and let's see what we can decide. I add a little schmutz marking here. All right. Let's take it here for context. All right, but before I do it, a little sewing there. Okay, let's try. One more time. And I'll probably get a little louder. Okay, so I'm gonna add just for myself a little bit of marking here as far as a dynamic. So I'm definitely gonna want this kind of closer to a piano, right? Even though not expressly marked, it will give more room for the crescendo. Now here, you could, whenever you have something that kind of repeats, and it essentially repeats, even though one's an E sharp and one's an F, and whatever the chord is probably asked for that. It's a very weird way of writing it. But you know, you can either have an echo stay the same or grow. And in this case, I'm actually going to want this to grow a little bit. I'm going to say that I'm going to want this to be mezzo piano. And again, I can't write very well. Let's see. Let's write this mezzo piano MP. However, we're going to want this to be two piano. So it's actually going to be to me, it's going to be a little bit of a growth, and then it comes back down a little bit. And then of course we have whatever happens in the rest here. Okay, so one last round of this, and we keep going. Now, it's doing a great job of following me, but I also want to... actually, I'm not sure if the accompaniment is doing that naturally or just the way it responds to me. But in any case, I'm going to add a little bit of an arrow, just to give me a note that I really want it to go back a little bit. And of course, we'll odd tempo afterwards. All right. I know. Let's do it one last time, but this time with reverb. Going on. Okay. This is one of those things where I really wish I had the actual text. Most because this feels like it wants to be a G flat. But I better put a note to myself for now. This has to be a natural, at least according to what I'm reading there. Also, give myself a double reminder that hey, these are flats that you have to pay attention to, and then finally, poco più forte. Okay, so the whole thing starts forte. It's kind of a weird way of putting it. I think it might actually be an engraving thing. Like the poco più forte probably should be at the beginning of that crescendo, not on the bottom. It looks But of course, you can't fit it in the bottom, so they just put it there. In fact, what I'll do is I'll put a little arrow that says in there. Okay, that way I know that I should start off like there. And of course, I'm going to put a little graphic for my diminuendo, and it helps the color code unless you're colorblind. You know, if you're colorblind, then obviously you're going to have to do things a little bit differently, maybe with different contrasting shades of gray and whatnot. But I definitely want this to float down to a nice diminuendo, so I make it blue. Okay, let's see. I'll start from 53 one more time, and look out for that G natural, even though it's very tempting to play a G flat. Oops. Let's start from here. Okay. This is one of those cases where I am probably overdoing it, and because I kind of played it, missed it along there. I'm hoping it's not learned to play really super stupid slow at 53, which unfortunately happens. There. So I may have to reset the learned phrasing. Actually, maybe let me do that for now. Reset learned phrasing. Now what that does is it forgets what rubatos that you might have put in there. So it's good, especially if you do silly things like I did there. Okay. Okay, we forgot to put our little green markers here, so let's put a little green markers. All right, so obviously that's one here. This is obviously one phrase. And I would say that that is one bit, and this is another little bit. Nope, no, I changed my mind. Let's make it more like here's there, and then this is the start of something. Da 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 da. Switch to the next page. Da 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 here, and I'm gonna write here I always use the wrong two-tip highlighter. Yeah. Oh, what happened to my highlighter? Oh, that's not the highlighter. That's the eraser. Okay. Unpew. So I'm gonna try not to overdo that. CD. Right? CD, of course, means to slow down a bit. Okay, let's start on 53. Let's see what it does there. Okay, that works well. Okay, now let's try it one more time with reverb. Oh, I did want to put one. I played it right every time, but it's one of those things where I feel a little paranoid. Okay, put a sound on there, and we're going to put sharp. Oh God, that looks terrible. Let's make it look nicer by zooming in. A little tiny short. And there. That looks better. All right. One more and then we keep going. By that point, we've already reached another part. So let's put out little sections, little section markings. Okay, so this is obviously the beginning of something. This is actually the end of it. And then this is probably, I'll say that's a little marking there. And then logic will dictate that this is there. And I'll put one here just because it kind of will glue together. And then you have that there. Okay, not much to say here except put a lot more. I'm gonna say molto vibrato for this one here. So I'm gonna put a little text here that says, show the keyboard, molto vibrato. I can't seem to spell molto, M-O-L-T-O. There we go. Okay. And that will serve as a good way. Kind of remind myself that I need to put a lot more singing. So this is almost like an soprano, oh, like really, really big there. Okay. You know, let me do a little sharing here. I'm gonna see if I can bring people in. The power of WhatsApp. Okay. I'll have to ask my wife. Okay. I guess just boneless. Okay. I forgot what I was gonna do. What was I going to do? I was going to oh, right. I'm gonna put it on the put my students here for this. Yeah. All right, we're kind of taking a little quick break here just to do a little housekeeping here. Look for my little chats. Okay, my little Kinabalu Flute community. Live streaming study session of Mel Bonis's Flute Sonata. Okay, let's put that like there. All right, trying to get more people there. All right, so where am I at now? There's nothing really nothing really fancy going on here. So we're gonna start from we're gonna start from here. Yeah, and there's a natural diminuendo, ritardando that happens there that I don't even have to necessarily note there. Okay, so if that's più forte, maybe I should make this one mezzo forte dolce. So I'm gonna write there, nice healthy. Nice little mezzo forte there. Ooh. My terrible handwriting. Okay, that looks stupid. Sorry. Let's see if I can make a better F. Yeah, that looks more like a classically oriented F. I've always been terrible with manuscript. All right, so definitely I'm going to want to have some sort of crescendo going on here. Right? And I'd like to do a visual crescendo. I never like relying on these letters for myself. That's just me. I will circle that bend canto there. All right, let's do this one last time, and then we're going to keep going. I'm going to kind of keep this going here. So we're going to start here from this measure. 2, 3, 4, 5, 2. Okay, I'm going to get stronger here. Going on. That's a long way to go without breathing. So I definitely would recommend putting like a huge reminder to take a deep breath. Maybe not that stupid. Yeah, huge. Got to take a deep breath there. All right. The rest of it is pretty much old hat, actually. It's just a rehash of the little melismas that are kind of going through there. So we've got this one here. That's obviously one. Okay. Actually, let's include that that last one on there. So that's the next grouping that I would feel like we have here. Okay, so then the first one. Now, it's kind of important not to let the grace note give a little bit too much impetus. All right, it's probably just better just to have it like a little bit more delicate on the grace notes maybe this time. Almost like ghost notes. Integrating more in the phrase rather than having it stick out like the other ones. And then this is all background to whatever the piano's doing. Right. Now, as a pointer, right, it's like, oh man, this last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bars, it's hard to reach in there. And so sometimes it's good to do a training where you intentionally rush. You play as fast as your fingers can handle it, and then your control, your the one thing that you're going to change is actually the amount of air that I'm sorry, the tempo you're going to do. Therefore, the phrase starts to stretch longer this way. So, as an example, this is how it is. I'm going to play it like, I don't know, stupid fast at 104. All right. Ooh, now it's easier, right? Because it's faster. And so it takes away that whole feeling of, oh, I'll never get to the end. Well, now we got to the end here, right? Now, obviously, I can't play it that fast. So I just start to slow it down a little bit. So if I'm here, let's go a little bit slower. Slower. Which is probably close to what the tempo that it's asking for. And now I'm going to start maybe just torturing myself and getting it like a lot slower. Right? Can I go even more? Now it suddenly feels easier because I'm not so worried about how the whole thing sounds at the end of it. I know how it sounds already. I've incorporated it in myself, but now we're just we're taking our stroll. Right? Before we walk straight down the city blocks. Now we're just kind of strolling and stopping at the crosswalks and looking at all the buildings. There's some very, very, very interesting harmonic progressions that are going on in this thing. All right, so that's a little ditty. We'll make that like a little minute, and then obviously this is one ginormous thing. All right, so let's go back and let's take a look at it starting from here. Okay, good. Now I can play that much again. I can probably do even better breath control there, but definitely or crescendo. And then again, my preference for graphical things is what I like instead of letters and whatnot. It's also a great way, like, obviously music has a lot of heavy emphasis on Italian or French or German or even English. But depending on the symbols, actually transcends all of that. That arrow doesn't matter what language it is. You know? So in any ways, it just kind of points to a more basic way of communicating there. Because after all, when we all started coming out of the caves and whatnot, our original means of communicating was, lines on the sand and pictures of people and animals or the sun or whatnot, on cave walls. So it's I always like to have that more basic, that more natural symbolism in there. Okay, let's start here so it doesn't listen for my C sharp and probably ruin the and we're going to put some vibrato. We're almost done. We're almost done here. Okay, now it might be just the accompaniment, but I am definitely feeling it. How to put it? I'm definitely feeling it dragging, and a lot of it might be just trying to recover from there. So I'm gonna try this very lightly in yellow. I'm gonna probably ask it to just kind of move ahead a little bit, right? Push a little bit. That didn't look so good. Try to push a little bit there. You know, just keep pushing, just keep pushing. Maybe I don't need to push by the final bit there. Put a little crescendo there. That's just that. And I think that should be it for these little phraselets here. So obviously we're from here. Here, that's one part, and then this is one going descending, and then the next one, oh, the next one should be included. Yeah, look at that, we're almost at the last page. We're actually on the last page. Not bad for an hour and a half of work. Right? So this is what the content's going to be kind of mostly like. It's just going to be primarily just seeing how I practice. You know, people are always wondering, like, you know, how do you play? How you play is one thing. How you practice is actually the other thing entirely. And that's always been a bit of a fascination for me. Once I learned actually how to, you know, better my practice. Because I actually was a terrible practicer when I was younger. I'm like, I would just do things over and over and over. There was no plan. There was no technique. It was do it until you think it gets right. And sometimes it's just left completely up to chance. And I'll never forget it. When I first really started to get an idea of how to practice was through a good friend of mine, Lita Kim. She was like, at the time, she was like the star flute player at Carnegie Mellon under the Julius Baker era at CMU. And, you know, one time I had like a really bad lesson and I was in tears and it was just like, just nothing was working. And I was just about ready to throw in the towel and quit. But she's like, she just set me aside. It's like, okay, well, show me how it is. Show me how you're doing this. What's giving you the problem? Because she also was somewhat the de facto teaching assistant in a way. And, you know, she pointed out to me, right, okay, well, it's not just front to back, you know. There are ways you can do it. You can just need to build up, you know. Baker would call it grouping. I call it plus ones and all that. But that was the beginning of, like, starting to repair what was my technique. And then what studies I had on the Robertello, like, just reinforced it. And that basically resurrected my career, you know. So, Lita, wherever you are, thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah, I know she's in Boston. But, I think Boston or some northeastern state. Look her up. She's a fantastic flutist. All right, so let's start from here. And let's see if we can get a better sound. What happens if I start from here? Okay. Okay. All right. So, looking at it, all right. Let's just rush the rest of this here. Okay, that's going to be a little bit of a ditty here, but this is obviously one. This is one. This one. But more importantly, as I learned from doing it, I should make that short. I'm going to put it short pause. And if I can only just do short pause. Okay, not long. And let's move it to someplace a little bit. Yeah, I can just let it cut there. Yeah, so that little run before that was fine. Just a little cascading. Over time, it'll smooth out a little bit. It's interesting listening to the piano how they just kind of just grace notes and doesn't make a huge deal out of it. Now, I don't know if that's just because I don't know if this is a computer or a real pianist and they put it there. I do know the developer of this app is a pianist, so maybe it's a little bit of both. Okay, that's a little bit there. That's obviously a little bit there. And we're gonna put a nice thin blue retardando. Yeah. Poco più lento 84, that's fine. Now, I'm gonna say that this has to be forte. And one thing I kind of wish is that at 145, the piano just goes boom. Unfortunately, I can't control this app here. But if I made a music score thing, I would probably just put a lot of accents and a lot of forte in the MIDI part, just so it would just really put a big, deep bass line to launch up there. But that's why we do live performance. It's nice to play with these apps for practice, but eventually you have to have it with a live performance. This is a little bit of a duh, but of course that's the last phraselet. Okay. It's about time for me to probably stop this session here. So I think probably like a movement or maybe two if it's a short one. There. So my next stream, whenever it may be, I haven't figured out how I can make this like a kind of a regular thing. But the next stream, I plan on doing this. I work on the second movement, the scherzo, which is brilliant, but also very, very tricky. Okay, so let's do one last run through of the entire thing there, and I'll leave the music up. Here, I'll leave the music up on here, just so you guys can all follow along. All right, here we go. Mel Bonis's Sonata for Flute, Opus 64. Got a reverb. I'll leave the maybe not make it too loud there. So, all right, let's start. Okay. One last thing I'm gonna put in here is that I better take a super, 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 super big breath. There. All right. But if there was a desperate point like what I did just now, that does not look like a, that looks terrible. Okay, let's make a little breath mark. Let's make a little breath mark here, and then, nope. Ah! You know, this thing needs an undo function. That is one of my pet peeves. There's no undo function. So you kind of have to make everything perfect the first time through or start over. Anyway, yeah, I just would rather have like gone through the entire like last phrase if I could. But I wasn't quite as well prepared as I should be. Okay, so without further ado, that is the very first movement of the Mel Bonis Flute Sonata. So that's how I approach it. That's how I've been. That's pretty much how I approach all my pieces whenever I'm trying to get real detail work going on there. And of course, the rest of it is just repping it and practicing it as I move through there. It's a fantastic sonata. Subsequent broadcasts, live streaming here, I'll be doing the same thing, but with the second movement, the third movement, the fourth movement. And then I can kind of put in like a little YouTube connection and whatnot. Anyway, thanks for watching, and do take care.